Hey friends, what's going on? This is Georgie and welcome back to another video. So for today's video, we are going to be doing more of a sit down and chat story time kind of video. I really enjoy it when I see other creators being open and vulnerable and sharing experiences from their own lives. So I wanted to start doing this a little more with you guys, my community. This isn't only my channel, this is your channel as well. So yeah, in this video I'm just going to be talking about the different paths that I've gone through in life. It's going to be a two-part video. This first one is going to focus more on like my skills, how I gained them, and my education. And the second part is going to be focused more on career and projects and work and all that fun stuff. I've always been, I want to say as far as I can remember, very much into like arts and music and dance. I love theater, I love fashion, I guess I just love various different forms of art, including like photography as well. You know, many different disciplines. This started to develop, I want to say, when I was like a pretty young kid. I don't know why, I just really love to like color, and I had this, I don't know if you guys remember, if you're 90s kids you might too. Game Boy released this thing called a Game Boy camera, where it was pretty much a game that you would put inside your Game Boy and you'd be able to take pictures. I'll put a photo right here, but you'd be able to take like photos in like this really pixelated resolution, and they also sold this printer which you could print out. So since I was like super young, I used to like take pictures of my dogs and my toys and my friends, and it was a lot of fun. So it's not a surprise that I'm currently into like photography and film and YouTube and all this stuff, right? I don't know how I developed this skill. I guess my mom always like encouraged us to be like artsy kids and just like, you know, do fun stuff and work with our hands. So something else that I think that is a big part of me is that I just love learning. I love reading books, I love stories, I love like fantasy movies, and something that I'm currently learning about right now is like philosophy and just ways of learning and ways of thinking. And I've read a few books on like modern philosophy, nothing like too deep and complicated, but like these are things that I'm also interested in. And finally, something that I'm super interested in is spirituality. It's a big part of my life and something that I am, you know, just very happy to have, like a spiritual side. I sort of like sidetracked a little bit, but back to my education. I went to, for the most part of my life, to a grade school and middle school that was, I guess, like traditional. It was a little bit old school, I want to say. You know, we carried these like large textbooks and did exams, and it was like very religious. It wasn't like the best experience for me, I want to say, because I never was able to excel at anything because I just had a different sort of like chip wired into my brain and a different way that I, you know, was able to like learn. So it was definitely a little tough being completely bilingual and living in the border. Sometimes my brain would think in Spanish, but I would have to write and speak in English or vice versa. So it was just a lot for like my little brain to like absorb. But then when I went into high school, things changed a lot. I was put into this really cool like project-based learning charter school. My parents just thought it was a good idea to get me out of like the traditional learning that never really worked for me, and I was kind of like a loner too at my old school. Didn't have a lot of friends, and wasn't really into sports or anything. I was just like an artsy little kid. So when I went into high school, I was like, what's this place? We don't have like textbooks, like we don't have that many exams. We would just like learn based off of projects, which was amazing. And thanks to this type of learning that I was introduced to in my teenage years, this artistic, creative part of me that was like buried just came out again, which was really, really cool. So when I was in high school, I just became a very fashionable and artsy teenager. I was very into like photography and like fashion magazines. I remember that I even like took a photography class at my local community college because I wanted to learn more about photography. This was before the cell phone days, before when you can just like pick up your iPhone and take a picture and make it look incredible. My dad bought me this amazing film camera and I learned how to take pictures and, you know, work shutter speeds and apertures, which was really cool. So thanks to that, I joined the high school yearbook club. And I, you know, became the high school photographer, which was super cool. Through my eyes, it was really cool to be the high school photographer. Maybe some other kids didn't think so, but I was like having so much fun, like with my camera, taking pictures of like, you know, the pep rallies and the field days and the assemblies and all that stuff. When it came to like our senior year and we were close to graduating, I thought to myself, what am I going to study? We had taken a few like art classes and even a graphic design class, which I was really into. So I thought to myself, well, maybe something along the lines of like design, something artsy. At first, my parents weren't like so head over heels with this idea. Saying that you want to focus on art is a little bit nerve-wracking, and I mean, parents want the best for us, and my parents were just a little worried and concerned. I told them that I wanted to study TV and film, just because it was I guess an extension of photography, and I was really into movies, and like, I don't know, it was a dream of mine to become a filmmaker. Unfortunately, that did not happen, but I did end up studying graphic design. I stayed in my local hometown and went to a very good university and studied a graphic design program. I dropped out a year before graduating, but during the 3 years that I was in the graphic design program, I learned how to draw, I learned how to sculpt, I learned how to like start thinking in a more conceptual designer way. I don't know how to call it, but yeah, it was, you know, it started like polishing my eye a little more. So part of me like wasn't completely satisfied with graphic design. It was an amazing career, and if you're thinking about studying this, I do recommend it if it's for you, but at least for me, it wasn't like 100% like fulfilling. And this uncertainty sort of came from the electives that I took. I remember I took like a jewelry and a furniture class, and I was like, oh my God, I like making things in 3D, and I just, you know, like being able to like touch and feel the things that I make. So I started doing some research, and I decided I was going to switch my major and start studying industrial design. And not only switch my major, but switch colleges and switch cities. So yeah, I decided to just move to Mexico City for some reason, and I found a really amazing university over there, and I started doing a 4-year program on industrial design. Industrial design was very different than graphic design. I guess like graphic design, it was more like 2D and just like, you know, we learned about like typography and editorial stuff. I was really into like magazines and blogs. But with industrial design, I thought like, you know, working in a more tangible way would maybe be more rewarding for me. So I finished my program in 4 years. If you guys are interested in me doing a deeper dive into what the industrial design area encompasses. I can definitely do another video on that in the future. But pretty much what we learned was, like, in a summary, how to like make products, things such as like furniture, work with different materials such as like wood, metals. We also took a ceramics class, which was actually one of my favorites. And you know, we learned so much during these short 4 years. If you think about it, 4 years sounds like a long time, but with the amount of things that we learned, for me it ended up being like a little bit overwhelming actually. Because when I graduated from that and it was time to look for a job, I didn't know what field to go into. After finishing my career in industrial design and having a couple of jobs, there was like this little bug inside me that sort of was frustrated and wanted to get a good solid job in the design field, but also I felt like I was lacking certain skills that I saw these jobs asking for. One of them was 3D drafting, so I took a certificate program back in my hometown that focused around like drafting. We learned AutoCAD, which is a program that designers and architects use to just draw in 3D and just make designs on the computer. It wasn't the most pleasant experience because I was like going back to like my graphic design days, back to the computer, just because in my head I thought that I had to know how to do these things in order to get a design job or work in the design field. So anyway, since I am a very like school-focused person and I love to learn, I just got the best out of this course and I got certified in drafting. I never got a job as a drafter, just wanted to give you guys a heads up, but it was a very valuable skill for me to have, and that still to this day, you know, if I need to do something in this program, I know how to use it now, which is a cool thing to have, you know, for just resume, whatever. I stopped with the schooling and education and this like whole like constant learning, constant like feeding information into my head for a while, and I focused on work for a couple years, and then the pandemic came. And as many of you guys know, this was just a very like scary time. My experience like was not the best. I mean, I'm nervous laughing right now, but just flashbacks to when the pandemic came, I was like not doing so well emotionally, and just I was so confused as to where my life was going to head, and I needed a lot of like reflection and healing time. So when we were able to travel again and just kind of like things started to open back up, I decided to take some of my savings and move away and just have some like healing time. I moved to this like state in southern Mexico called Chiapas because one of my best friends from college was living there, and I just decided to take a time off from life, which I want to say to you guys is completely valid. Taking breaks in life, from my personal opinion, is something very healthy, because sometimes we go in this like infinite loop of like go and never stopping, and just like job, school, this, that, projects, whatever, and we can like really be affected by this. At least in my experience, I started getting a lot of anxiety, I was depressed, I was like just in a very bad headspace. So going to Chiapas and just kind of like focusing on myself and my well-being was a very important thing. And one day I was just like flowing with life, walking around, and I saw this like poster of a yoga teacher training. I don't know why I decided to take this teacher training. I mean, I'd been doing yoga for like 5 or 6 years prior to that, but I was like, okay, I'm not working in anything related to my field right now. why not learn something new? It might like be very beneficial for me. So I did my teacher training, which was, it was like one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. It was pretty intense. It was 200 hours, required a lot of discipline. We took it in about like 2 months, so it was a very like fast track teacher training, especially like during the pandemic. It was a small group, so it was like, I don't know, it was really beautiful because it gathered a group of people whom I became very close with, and my teachers were just like so kind, and they taught us like breathwork techniques, they taught us like yoga philosophy, they taught us a lot about anatomy and the human body, and just like what else, they taught us how to like vocalize and sing, because you know in yoga you sing mantras and all these like songs. So it was just like, it was really fun, and I loved becoming a yoga teacher. So yeah, I became a yoga teacher, and then prior to that, I also decided to like take this like Reiki certification. If you guys are unfamiliar with Reiki, it's pretty much like it's like another holistic like healing method that's like based off of like energy and intention and like meditation and prayer. I went down this like huge like spiritual and wellness self-discovery path with the yoga, the Reiki, all this stuff, and it just made me like, you know, become a new and more improved version of myself. I guess I'm gonna like start wrapping up this video right here. Those were some of like, I guess the paths that I've taken as far as skill set and my education goes. As you heard from this video, it's been like so non-linear, and sometimes I would get frustrated as to like, where am I heading next? Why am I doing this? Like, how are these things going to tie with each other? But looking back on it now, all these disciplines and areas of study have really absorbed into me and just like made me this like multifaceted artist, and just made me very like skilled at many things, and it made me find some really cool jobs. I'll be talking more about like my jobs and my projects in the next video. But just to wrap this up, you guys, if you're struggling with your education or your skills, or you're interested in learning a lot of things, don't feel like you're alone, because you're definitely not alone. Talking to some of my close friends, we all struggle with this in our lives, and it's completely fine. It's completely normal to want to learn new things and explore different parts of ourselves, you know? We're not like programmed robots meant to do like one thing for the rest of our lives. So I hope this video just helped you guys understand a little bit more about like this subject, and I hope you could relate to some of my experiences. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and leave your feedback down in the comments. And yeah, thank you so much for supporting this channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.